us to flee to Jesus to save us. God is going to judge religious people, the Jews in particular, because theirs was a God given religion. So that concludes that section. Now we move on to section verses 17 through 24. Verse 17, Behold, thou art called a Jew, and restest in the law, and maketh thou boast of God, and knowest his will, and approvest the things that are more excellent, being instructed out of the law. Religion has no longer a crutch for these men. Religion was no longer a crutch for these men. It caused him to be proud and self-sufficient. Light created an added responsibility, which brought a greater condemnation. The Jews had 10 advantages over the Gentiles, which are listed in this verse. The first 5 are what he was. Bearest the name Jews, restest upon the law. Number 3, boastest in God. Number 4, knowest the will of God. Number 5, provest the things which are most excellent, being instructed out of the law. Verse 19, and art confident that thou art thyself art a guide of the blind, a light of them which are in darkness, an instructor of the foolish, a teacher of babes, which has the form of knowledge and the truth in the law. The last 5 personal privileges of the Jew are that he did 1, art persuaded that thou thyself art a guide to the blind. Number 2, the light of them that are in darkness. Number 3, a corrector of the thoughtless or immature. Number 4, a teacher of babes and proselytes. And number 5, having in the law the outward form of knowledge and truth. Now here is Paul's question in verse 21. Thou therefore which teachest another, teachest thou not thyself? Thou hast preachest a man should not steal. Dost thou steal? Thou that sayest a man should not commit adultery, dost thou commit adultery? Thou that abhorreth idols, dost thou commit sacrilege? Paul mentions 3 common sins: immorality, sin against others; sensuality, sin against self; and idolatry, sin against God. Teachest thou not thyself? In other words, do you practice what you preach? For many of us, our preaching is better than our living. Dost thou commit sacrilege, or do you rob temples? When the Jews was in Babylonian captivity, he took the gold cure, and as far as I can tell, he was never given to adultery after that. However, he didn't mind handling merchandise that came from beaten heathen temples and selling it in his business. Today, there are certain Christians who handle merchandise in their business in order to make money that they would condemn in their church. Now, the 3 sins that Paul mentions, immorality, sensuality, and idolatry, he had dealt with in inverse order in chapter 1. Idolatry was the terrible climax for the Jews. He could go no lower than that. I wonder if you and I are making a mockery of the person of Christ. Someone has put the question to the poetic language. The gospel is written a chapter a day by deeds that you do and the words that you say. Men read what you say, whether faithless or true. Say what is the gospel according to you. Now he deals with something that is extremely vital.